What kind of documents would you need to supply during the long stay visa application?
Well, again, it's difficult to do this, over a few minutes, but the documents themselves are going to have to be relative to the 3 points, right? So rental contract, a bona fide French 12-month rental contract. So I'm a private landlord myself and a commercial landlord, and the rules in France around rental contracts are very firm. It's not an Airbnb contract. It's not a booking.com for 6 months. That will not be accepted. But of course, you need to make sure that you've got a document around that. And a lot of our clients, for instance, want to try before they buy. So, and I guess then it comes to this question where, well, I can't stay there unless I've got a visa, and how do I go back in visa? So get to the rental contract. Bona fide rental contract is one option. There's a few ways around that. If people have got questions, and please, feel free to contact me. Because we can also assist by if you're buying a house from somebody and you need help getting a contract from them potentially to rent it, that work. In terms of the proof of funds, well, bank statements, pay slips, pension payments, etc., proof of anything that's got your name, address on it, essentially, if it's stated. And in terms of health insurance, then and again, this is going to be Fabio's remit. Fabio's website is extremely well built in the concept that he will give you all of the things that are equipped for, accepted for, the historical acceptance rate on an actual document. And it is really, really worthwhile making sure, if you're not using our services, or in terms of pre-booking your appointment, making sure that those documents are correct, because as I'm sure Fabio will tell you, then it's just a refusal. And it's an easy one to refusal. So the health coverage is it's such a grey area of what can be accepted and not, but if they don't want to issue the visa, it's a great one to move you around. Same as proof of funds for a family, right? So if you don't have the right documents or the right rental contract, even though that it kind of is going to work that way, maybe you're not even going to stay there for 12 months, but initially, you've got to prove the things, and in a very Frenchly way, and you've got to have the things that tick the boxes. There's no grey.
That's a very good point to tell people that aren't aware and don't have experience of French administration. They can be very, very, very picky on things, and you do need, if they ask for a specific form, it does need to be that specific form and that specific one.
And this has been subcontracted, Zoe, from to a company for the French government. So that company is responsible, and in a way, the more they send you back, and probably works out better for them because it's more applications for them to deal with. I hate to say it, probably true. You've just got to consider that before you go and send and launch a book. And I think there's so many variants as well that it's very confusing for somebody doing it online in general.
And what about passports? Because they do take your passport.
Yes.
Process. Is that correct?
Well, this is all going to depend on how quickly the consulate will deal with it. In the UK, historically, it's very quick. I mean, places like New York, San Francisco, for instance, or Sydney can be extremely fast, but can be extremely slow. So expect to have your passport held for 2 to 3 weeks, and I would say a month really at the maximum. But again, if you use a company like ourselves, we coach you for all of this. Our actual barrister or avocado buddy will call you, coach you through the appointment, make sure that you understand exactly what's going to happen. If you're a business person, more importantly, and this is often what happens to me, is that if somebody's got their own company and actually is going to work as a digital nomad in Paris for the next 8 months, he can't maybe afford to lose his passport for 2 weeks or 3 weeks because he's got to go to Delhi or he's got to go somewhere else. So the more warning in advance you have, you can kind of plan around that. But I would say typically those documents are going to have to be taken, and then just your general kind of suspects, proof of ID, proof of permanent address, etc. That's where the government application, I would like to say.
Yeah, correct. And in terms of the application process then, so the beginning of the process starts online, is that correct? And then how long would you wait until you get an appointment at the visa office? What's the sort of timeline on that?
Sure. And again, extremely variable based on who you apply or which country you're applying from. Yes, there is an online platform. it's slightly confusing. I've got a lot of clients that come to us afterwards because they've tried themselves, they've got so far, and actually they'll end up wanting us to do it. So from our part, we do, client actually only comes online to see us. We then do everything for them, and we prepare them for the form, for the actual appointment itself. But essentially, in very simple terms, you book online, you go to your appointment with your documents, they take your passports, you wait for the actual documents to be issued, and then you've got to go to France within 3 months of that visa being issued to validate it and stamp it in France. A question that's probably going to follow from this, and sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, is like, how can you delay this visa from being applied? Except yes, you can, and Fabian can also delay the insurance start dates, etc. We can, so there is some flexibility in that, but I would say for somebody that wants to move to France now, well, plan 3 months at least ahead to get your visas, because a rough period of 3 months on average, depending on the countries, it's probably fair to say that's the quickest you'd be able to get that an application through. But in an emergency case, because we deal with so many visa applications, I think over 3,500 confused between renewals and new applications last year for us, we actually have pre-booked appointments as well. So, if there's really a last minute one, we might be able to get it through. But as always, it's subject to, the person that's got the documents and how quickly we can get the right stuff. We won't send anything if it's not perfect, essentially. We won't send the client if it's not going to be full.
Okay, that gives people a good idea of how to plan ahead.